Hello, my chicklets. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate y'all being so patient with me. July just seemed to not be my month, but I'm back here now and I'm super excited to start this return with AU August. Before we get into that, I do want to thank EduPunk Noob again for donating to me on Ko-fi so that I can afford the artwork we have for this month's event. Without further ado, let's jump into a classic coffee AU called Breaking the Rules. Remy had certain rules when it came to customer service work. 1. Take shit from no one. 2. Don't let a Karen make anyone cry. And 3. Arguably the most important rule, don't fall for a pretty face. He'd gotten burned too many times by a flirty smile with a deep wallet. Work was not the place to meet your soulmate. Not that he believed in that mushy concept anyway. Soulmates were for people who didn't want to face the reality that relationships took work, and Remy was willing to put that work in as long as he didn't have to do it alone. He was looking for an equal partnership, someone to be his strength when he needed it, and someone he could support in turn. He wasn't going to be fooled by a 6'1" nerd with a sleepy smile and stylish glasses, even if said nerd had the softest, sleepy smile when he first came in during the mornings. Remy set down the coffee he had just finished making, getting a soft hum from the man behind him. You do know if you continue to get violent with the coffee, it will eventually betray you, right? Janice, his coworker, had a soft, smooth voice that always sounded like he knew something he shouldn't. Remy liked Janice. He really did. But the slithering snake was a bit of an asshole when you were trying to keep something a secret. Coffee would never betray me, unlike you. You wish I were your bitch. Fuck off, Jay, he muttered once the customer was out of earshot. I certainly don't know what you're talking about. It's not as if you've become more irritable in the past 2 weeks, specifically on Tuesdays and Thursdays after a certain nerd comes to pick up his coffee before class. I also haven't noticed that you don't seem to relax until he comes back in the afternoon. Though, then you start muttering about Rule 3. What is Rule 3? Remy glared at him before bumping into his hip. Rude. Gasp. Assault. I have been assaulted. Workplace injury. He pretended to crumple, feigning pain. Oh, please. We both know my bitches can't get hurt. Now look who's being rude. The two were joking around and didn't notice the customer at the register until they cleared their throat. Excuse me. Remy looked over to the register, a light blush crossing his face as he saw Logan, the nerd they were discussing earlier, was standing there, waiting. Sorry about that. Just had to punish one of my employees. I am assuming that you mean that as a joke, as physical punishment isn't something a boss is allowed to do. Yeah, mostly. Jay and I are close, so it's pretty much just friendly banter. Pretty much. Well, he can still be annoying as hell. I can hear you. You were meant to. But yeah, he takes care of me and I take care of him. So are you two? Logan trailed off, looking between the two of them. Oh shit. He didn't even know if Logan was gay. Was he gay? Or did that bother him? He set off Remy's gaydar, but also the slight fear that Logan might not be sent his protective shield up. Does that bother you? No, not in the slightest. I guess I was just hoping to... He pulled out a set of flashcards, shuffling through them before saying, Shoot my shot? Remy's defenses were immediately shot down as he looked at this absolute puppy dog of a nerd. No, we aren't dating, just friends. Oh. Logan's face lit up and he smiled. Well, maybe you could explain more about your dynamic? Over dinner, perhaps? Logan smiled, and Remy felt his heart jump to his throat. His body felt like it was going to melt. Each time this man had smiled in the past, it had been blinding, but this was different, like the warm sun shining on him on a cold day. Sure, babes, Remy said without even thinking, wincing immediately after. Rule 3. He needed to be careful. We could hang out, like, as friends. His tie adjusting stopped, and Remy watched as a look of hurt passed over his face, but then was replaced with understanding. Wonderful. I will leave my number with you. He fished a notepad out of his bag, tearing a piece of paper out and writing down his number. You can contact me at your convenience. Right. Thanks. Did you want to order? Sure, my usual, if that's possible. 1 coffee, 2 sugars, and our specialty sandwich. Yes, thank you. Logan paid, and Remy went to work, getting everything prepared. Janice was looking up at him, eyebrow raised. Friends? Really? Rule 3. What even is that? Don't fall for a pretty face. Janice rolled his eyes. I'm pretty sure it's not his face you're falling for. That ass, maybe, or quite possibly the size of his intellect. Remy shot him a glare, but his friend brushed it off. Logan was passionate about what he was studying, and he was intelligent, but not condescending. Remy was smitten, and he hated himself for it. It wasn't just Logan's pretty face. It was the way he held himself, the way he talked, the small, slight smiles. Janice grabbed Logan's sandwich, shoving it towards Remy. Look, I know you've been hurt, and I promise I'll help you hide the body if it happens again, but I think this time it might be worth it. It was rare to get this much honesty from his coworker without an infuriating amount of sarcasm. All right, you don't have to harp. Apparently, someone has to keep you in line. He patted Remy's shoulder before quickly getting Logan's coffee, handing it off as well. Go get him. If they weren't friends, Remy thought he might have punched Janice in the face. Instead, he turned to the counter. Logan, I got your coffee and sandwich. Thank you. And I'll send you a text after work. He smiled again, and Remy would never admit that he might learn to live under the warmth of that smile. Thank you for giving me a chance. He took his food, heading off to a table to study. Remy would normally be nervous going into something like this, but after he had actually made a decision about it, he felt a weird bit of excitement and giddiness. Maybe it was time for him to break Rule 3. Thank you all for listening. Again, this story was Breaking the Rules, part of my AU August, the coffee shop AU. I do hope you all enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful day, and I'm so glad to be back.